Good morning, Norman Hartman here speaking, and I'm excited to begin another Monday morning with Monday Morning Motivation. Hopefully, you guys are. Look, I had another fantastic weekend. I was able to go out and me and my entire family, my wife and two kids, at the Bellwood anniversary, and we were able to support our current Superior Clerk Court, Shasta Glover, and I had a great time. Look, I was out on the swings. I hadn't swung in a long time. Even climbed on the bars a little bit, but just had a great time to enjoy ourselves, and it was a great opportunity to get out in the community and do something. So again, happy. Well, let's start by saying happy Labor Day to you guys. I want to talk a little bit about Labor Day. I know some of you guys may be asleep. But of course, I'm up on the holidays as well because I know that there are some people out there that don't have the opportunity to get off of work. They still have to go into work because of the world that we live in. So I'm going to speak about that as well. Good morning. And then you guys, of course, see what I have out there about how to maximize your God-given potential, okay? So let's jump into some of these things, getting started and getting focused. So in looking at Labor Day, I wanted to find out more about it and just kind of get some ideas, how did it start? What's the importance of it? And so I'm going to share with you some of those things that I learned in terms of moving forward with Labor Day. So Labor Day, of course, setting is the 1800s. Of course, the Industrial Revolution is going on, the birth of machinery and the invention of technology that allows us to work better and faster. And so with these different things coming on, you still have a lot of people that are working tremendously long hours. You have people that are working all days of the week. You have children working. You have women working. You have all these types of different scenarios where people are just working, working, working. And of course, you have the formation of labor unions to fight for the rights of the workers, right? You have the companies, these big corporations, and then you have the workers that felt slighted. And so you have these unions that said, hey, if we band these people together and we represent the people, then we're able to fight for their rights more efficiently because we have a stronger voice. And so having that stronger voice coming together, where we're able to, as a country, formulate opportunities to celebrate what's called Labor Day. And actually, the first Labor Day was not even recognized as a national holiday. People had to go on strike to even celebrate this holiday, and it wasn't until it wasn't until 12 years later, in 1894, that it was even formed or recognized as a national holiday. People lost their lives going on strike. People, I'm sure, lost their jobs. People lost money. And of course, we talk about upward mobility in terms of, well, hey, if you want to get it, if you want to enjoy life to the fullest, then you need to, kind of work or overwork yourself. But these people were overworking themselves just to make ends meet. And I know a lot of people are out there doing the very same thing. So Labor Day, of course, is an opportunity to celebrate us as workers in America, the socially driven changes, also the labor driven changes that we've had as well. But it's also an opportunity to celebrate yourselves because we want to make sure that we remember that we're people and that we need to live and enjoy our lives, live and enjoy our families, not throwing away all of our time into work. Okay, so history that's not talked about is forgotten. So I want to make sure that even as you're going to enjoy your barbecue today, that you understand why that is. All right. Next thing is, hey guys, I did finish the book. I finally finished the book. Yay. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Very, very, very good book. Let me just give you my quick review on it. Dale Carnegie was a man or a boy that grew up on a farm, had a kind of a very hard life, I'm sure, as a lot of other people had similar lives to him. But what kind of marked him differently? Dale Carnegie, at a young age, he realized, as a poor schoolboy, kind of his affinity with words or with speeches, and even as a schoolboy, he kind of looked out, or according to his biography, he was a poor boy, and he wanted to overcome that. He wanted to overcome poverty, and he wanted to move forward. And he saw the guys on that did well, especially going into college, were the ones that were the jocks, and the guys that could get in, could use words, or the guys that got into these competitions, debates, and things of that nature. And so he didn't have a natural affinity for sports, and so he got into writing and making these speeches and practicing speeches. And so he would practice, when he was out doing his farm work. He would talk to the animals. He would talk to the air. He would do all of these different things to perfect his craft. So much so that he started winning competitions, and he started to train other people how to win these competitions. So he started to really try his hand at life. He worked a couple of odd jobs, trying to find himself, as I would say. And in finding himself, it really led him back to his strong suit, which was speaking, and also working on speeches. It was said that over his lifetime, he's critiqued over 150,000 speeches, and that's a lot of speeches, or a lot of words to listen to. But it really made him a master at understanding people, and making him a master at understanding people allowed him to teach people. He realized, according to research, not just his own research, but the research of others, that one of the leading things that adults wanted to develop were soft skills. And we see that today, even in our world, that people are trying to develop those soft skills: conflict resolution, management, speaking, leading people through change. If you're in the workforce, you're probably hearing about all these different things, how to lead leaders, all of these different things. People are still 10, 20, and 30 years after school are talking about these soft skills that really should be taught. And I'm sure now they're being taught more overtly, but should be taught in the school system, or as we're going through grade school, so that we learn better how to deal with people and how to influence people. So my review of that book is that it's great. Really teaches you a lot about respecting people, understanding how people think, how to lead people, how to build a bridge between people. Perhaps there is no common ground. So how do you do all those different things in order to work with people, in order to lead people? So that's all I'm going to say on the book, except go out and read it, or go out and listen to it if you don't have time to read it. It was a great book. All right. So now, as for our topic for today, how to maximize our God-given potential. All right. So we've talked about some of these things before, but I want to really bring these things together. First of all, I want you to realize that God has given all of us something. All of us have something specific. There are things that are like other people. So, you may have the gift of singing. Some of you you may be good with your hands in terms of building things, inventing things. You may be a thinker. You may be able to think critically on the spot about how things should work and how to organize things. Whatever it is, we all have gifts that are similar, but you'll find that we all have a specific purpose, okay? And so when it comes to your purpose, it's time for you to become laser focused, okay? And what I mean by laser focus is it's time to start that process of elimination, okay? So as you begin that process of elimination and finding what it is that God has given you, that's the first place to start. And see, for a lot of us, it can be difficult to find what we feel is our God-given purpose or potential, because we're talented in many areas, Or maybe we spend a lot of our time doing things and not really discovering ourselves. And so we find ourselves in a place and in a moment in life where we truly feel that we don't have that understanding of what we're supposed to be doing. And of course, that's okay. That's fine as long as you realize that you're in that place and now you have your footing to move forward from. Okay, so if you're multi-talented, you'll find that you have skills that even cut above that. So I'm athletic. I also sing. I have a gift in finance. I have different types of gifts. Okay, so I have to be honest with myself. My musical ability rises above my athletic ability. So my athletic ability right now, all I use it for now is for exercise and recreation. So I ruled that out in terms of that being my purpose. But if my athletic ability was, my strong suit, I might be, become a personal trainer or looking to do something in that arena. All right. Now my music ability, I used to focus heavily on that. I was actually a music major at one time at Columbus State University. Got my undergraduate degree in music education. And so at that time, I was heavily focused on music. So I was focused on singing. I had a voice coach. I was also focused on playing the piano. I was learning to play, taking piano lessons. My grandmother paid for my first piano lessons, and Lord, I don't play right now, but it's still those things. Investing in your children, investing in your grandchildren, is important because it helps them along the way. But there was a time that I was heavily focused on music, and that got me to where I am now. But it didn't, it carried me through college, but I found that it wasn't able to carry me as far as I wanted to go in the workforce. So here's what I mean by that. And when I speak, I'm just speaking about me. I'm not talking about, anyone else in their decision, okay? So I've always been a large thinker. I've always been a big thinker. Even when I was very young, I wanted to do three things. Um, I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to be a professional football player, and I wanted to be, a counselor. So I wanted to have my office where people came in and, I could talk to them about the problems that they had going on. And the way I was going to do that is I would get up early Sunday morning, preach, get on a plane or a jet or something of some sort that would take me to the football stadium. I would get dressed and play my Sunday night football game. And then during the work week, I would come back to my office and counsel people. And so and I was probably 7 years old when I had these types of thoughts. So I'm going to bring these two things together. So as I moved along, of course, I had these different thoughts. I still played football. Some of you that know my family, I have a brother that played professional football. So when he was in college, or in high school and college, I would sometimes go to the college with him on spring break and participate in some of the exercises and learn from him, because obviously professional football was something that I wanted to do. Music was something that I wanted to do in church as well. And as this thing began to develop, let me tell you how these things started to peel off, okay? So I talked about the wanting to talk to people, to help people through their situations. I talked about the professional football, and I also talked about speaking at church or being a pastor of some sort, okay? So in ninth grade, high school, I was faced with the decision to play varsity football or to play in the marching band, okay? So after my ninth grade year, I was praying. I didn't really know what decision I was supposed to make, but out of praying, God led me to switch over high schools. I was at Shaw High School at the time, and I was playing football. I was in the band, but I was in the concert band. I wasn't in the marching band, and I also played JV football. And I'll never forget it. I went to my football coach, and I told him, I said, "Hey, I have to, change up what I want to do. I really appreciate the opportunity to play on the football team, but I really feel like I'm supposed to be in the band. So let me stop there. You got, if anybody has ever, kind of watched football teams or been around, you got football moms or been on a football team. Imagine trying to tell your football coach that you're becoming a bando, or you're leaving the football team to become, to play in the marching band. Not an easy conversation to have, especially in that time. But I had to stand solid on my decision. Changed high schools, went to Northside High School, and that led me into my strong suit of music. Got into music competitions, state competitions. There are still three guys that I love today. We were part of a state-winning quartet, and lovely voices. I would love to get back into that at some point. But that was a transition where I knew that I was no longer going forward in the sports arena. Okay, so even though I had these different giftings that I had in my life, I knew at this point that I had to focus on music and I had to leave the sports behind. Okay, so there was that pull off there. My music ability started to show, so much so that I decided to major in college in music. I got scholarships for that, and there was a time for that. But as I mentioned, since I was a child, I've always been this big thinker. I've always been this grand thinker, and I think my parents had played a big role in that. I think my grandparents played a big role in that, and their ambitions, all of those different things. And so I found that music was only able to take me and my life to a certain level. So I got my degree, and the degree basically told me that I could go and I can teach music. And I respect music teachers. I have family that's been music teachers. I've gone through doing that. I was still, at church do music, but I knew that to the core wasn't me. I knew to the core that teaching music and preparing for concerts and chorales and all these different things and educating kids in music wasn't my God-given purpose. And I had to have this kind of meeting within myself to find out, did I waste my time going through 4 years of college to study music? Did I miss some road signs? Because everything was great. I told you about the competitions that I was winning. Did I not invest in myself? Should I have gone the performance track instead of the education track? All these different questions that I had. And instead of allowing that to become a sticking point, I had to move on to the next thing. Okay. So that the next thing that opened up for me was a job opportunity. Okay. So the job opportunity was in banking. Now, here's the neat thing that I have to bring back in. The financial background for me in my life was actually planted as a seed by my grandfather, who gave me my first piggy bank. And I remember that piggy bank, my grandfather would just teach me the principles that, hey, every time you break a dollar, you need to put those coins into the piggy bank. So much so that I had saved, I know that I saved my first $1,000 before I was out of elementary school, just by putting those coins in there and developing the principle of saving money. And my grandfather passed away when I was 5, and so that goes to show you, parents or grandparents, even making an investment in your child's life at an early age can continue on. So banking came back full circle after having that seed planted in me by my grandfather. And I worked in, those that know me, a lot of you met me during my banking years. I worked in banking for 6.5 years, okay? And so that's where I truly find the connectivity in terms of my purpose. And if I have to go back to those three things that I mentioned in terms of pastoring, counseling, or the professional athletes, I would say that I lean more heavily on the counseling. Okay, counseling is really just helping people solve problems or helping people talk through different issues that they have. And so I love helping people talk through their problems. And so when I got into the area of finance, I found that there was this huge problem. Okay, there is miseducation when it comes to finance. People are, or there's no education. People are not receiving the financial education that they need to receive, especially at an early age. And so you imagine if you're not educated in something, then you come up with your own education system. Perhaps it was passed down from your parents or passed down from generations, passed down from people that you know and respect, who taught you the best that they knew, or maybe they just taught you what they knew and what they wanted to do. And a lot of those financial habits were not good habits. Okay, so in the banking industry, my job was to sell. I prepared loans. I did those types of things, deposits, things around credit and that nature, right? And I found that a lot of people were unable to move forward in things that they wanted to do because they did not have the credit, because they did not have the income, because they did not have the savings. And so people were financially there were more people that were not in a position financially to advance than were people to advance. And so that's what made the industry so competitive, is that everybody was competing for the people that were able to move forward. But I found that God was really tugging on my heartstrings for the people that were unable to move forward, for the people that were not educated properly in finance. And so and in talking about how to become laser focused on your purpose, I want to talk about the behind the scenes of what's happening here. So I'm in an area for which a seed was planted in my life early. I talked about my grandfather who took me through banking. I was in banking for 6.5 years, and my eyes were open to a problem, something I was passionate about. But really, it was something that I was passionate about very early on in my life, right? I told you about wanting to pastor people, which pastoring is caring about people and leading people to make godly change in their lives. And then I also told you about counseling, which counseling is similar to pastoring, really, if you look at it. It's really the same gift, or pulled from the same bucket, but it's helping people to solve problems. And so I found this huge problem in finance. And so I became passionate about it immediately because I saw that this was a problem that needed to be solved. This year, I didn't really like the way that it happened, or the way that it happened came with some pain. Let me say that way. My mother passed this year, who was pastor of our church for 25 years. And my brother, of course, now is senior pastor. And we've talked before about the opportunity, and I thought that I might come back, to ministry at some point. That was always my childhood dream, coming back to work in ministry. But I didn't think that that would happen for, another 10 years. I thought that surely that I would be in the banking arena. I would probably come up the corporate ladder, take on a few more positions before coming out of the working world. Maybe I might retire from corporate America to come back into the world of ministry. So, of course, getting back to the story, my mom passed away. My brother became senior pastor, and that expedited the conversations that we've had before in the past to say, hey, there's not only an opportunity to come and work full-time in ministry, but now there's the need. Okay? So here's what I do. What I do in terms of ministry, now I have the opportunity to evangelize and outreach, for evangelism and for outreach. So for those of you that are not familiar with evangelism, basically what that means is you go out and you communicate with people that are outside the four walls of the church, and how to connect with God. So in connecting with God, in my thought process, is not beating people over the head with the Bible or preaching down their throats, but is figuring out how you can serve people. And the outreach portion of it is the actual serving of the people. So the evangelism is going to meet the people where they are, and the outreach is, hey, how can we serve you? How can we what tools are you missing? What resources are you missing so that we're able to move you forward? So I'm in a very unique position right now to help people move forward, not just in finances, but in terms of what I do for work, moving people forward, connecting them to resources that they need. So I'm very excited about that. We are taking on a project in South Columbus where we're reaching out to people, finding out what people need, finding out what people want, and how to connect them back to resources that are in the city. So I'm sure you guys will hear more about that, and hopefully you'll see more about that just catching on in the city. And really, I think that that's something that every church should have. If you can, we're on the south side of Columbus. But what about the people that are on the east side or the north side or west side, all the different sides or central Columbus? Getting out into the community, serving your community, serving the people that are around you, okay? So, getting back to the unique position or the unique opportunity. So, as I started focusing on, as I received this passion into my life for fixing a financial problem, the layers or the other things started really peeling off. And so, again, though it came with pain, the opportunity to move forward and the purpose that God has given me came forward, okay? So I talked about what I do on the ministry side, but then here's what I do also, or here's what I'm doing now, and also in terms of the financial piece of it. So I realize that people need to be trained financially. I realize that people need to restore their credit. People need to have all of these different things, and it really goes hand in hand. It's service to people. Now I conduct financial seminars. Sometimes, I receive love offerings, sometimes not. But I'm really passionate about people being able to get their lives back financially. People being able to restore their credit. People being able to make wise financial decisions so that they're able to live their best lives. Because most everything that we do in life takes money. And though money is not everything, money can be a huge obstacle, or the lack of money or lack of education can be a huge obstacle to you if you don't have the right tools, right? So that's extremely important, not just in the working world. It's important in the religious world, in every area of life. Learning how to manage money, you can't go wrong by learning how to manage money. Even if you say, hey, I want to give all of my money away, I want to become a humanitarian, and I want to live off of 10% of my money, and I want to give, the other money away. So let's say, and I hope I'm talking to some future millionaires. Let's say you're bringing in $1 million, and you're able to live off of 100,000. And you say, hey, the other 900,000, I want to bless people, and I want to invest in my community. I want to do all these different things. You still need to know how to manage money, okay? And so that's why that's very important. Share a little more with you. I brought something with me, okay, to talk about laser focus. So I want you to think about something as you're on with me. I want you guys to think about an orange. I want you to think about an orange, okay? I want you to think about your specific orange. I'll give you about 5 more seconds to do that. You guys got the picture in your head? All right, here's my orange. Does this look like the orange that you picture in your head? All right, so this is a Cara. Obviously, it's a very sweet orange. It's about mid-size. It does have a navel. This one is pretty clean. It has one larger crater there. I don't know if you guys can see that crater, but pretty much it's a clear, clean orange. Okay. So here's what I mean by laser focus. When I told you about picturing an orange, some of you may have pictured a navel orange. Some of you may have pictured a Cara like I have here. Some of you may have pictured a Tangelo. Some of you may have pictured a California orange. Some of you may have pictured any other type of orange than the type of orange that I have here. And so even if you have a gift that is similar to another person, your gift or your purpose is not exactly the same as any other person's gift or focus. Okay? So even though there are other people that are doing financial education across the world, and there are other people in Columbus that are doing financial education, there are still, I believe, there are people that I have influence with. There's a certain group of people that I'm supposed to speak to. There are a certain group of people that when I speak their language, right? There are other people that are doing financial education that speak a different language. And if they speak a different language, then they're going to draw a certain group of people. And when you become laser focused, like I told you and like the story I shared with you, you start jealousy, all these different things, hindrances start to peel back because you start to see the true purpose and the reason that you're supposed to be here. And I realized that part of my purpose is in serving the city of Columbus. I'm not in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not in New York. I'm not in Cali. I'm not in all these different places. And it's not to say that my gift won't take me there to speak at some point, but especially right now, my gift belongs in Columbus. And so let me ask you, maybe you have been thinking too broad. Maybe you've been thinking, hey, I want to, become, take my music to the next level, or maybe I want to take my gifts or take my craft. Some of you sell jewelry. Some of you put things together. Some of you knit things. Some of you put packages together for people. Some of you tutor. And so by becoming laser focused, then that jealousy peels off because you realize there's a demographic, there's a target market that is really there for you. And when you begin focusing on that target market, then your market expands from there. So there's no reason to be jealous. There's no reason to be at odds with people. Even when you feel, and notice the way that I said feel, even though you feel you're in direct competition with someone. Look, even though I might be competing for a position that someone else is competing for, personally, I'm not in competition with that person because I have enough faith and confidence that if I am doing what God has called me to do, and I truly understand my purpose, no one else can fill that spot but me. No one else can fill that void, though they may try, though they may want to do something. And yes, if you're trying to compete for a job or compete for a position, and that position is not it's not laser focused in terms of your purpose, yes, you may be in competition with someone, but I'm not talking about being in competition for a job. I'm not talking about being in competition for a spot. I'm talking about fulfilling your God-given purpose. And the only competition that you're in is the competition against yourself. You're in a battle against yourself. You're competing for time. When you're fighting that fear of stepping out, when you're fighting that fear of I'm not good enough, when you're fighting that fear of I'm not knowledgeable enough, when you're fighting that fear, you're really in competition against yourself to allow you to be great, to allow you to walk in fully the potential that God has given you. And so it's okay to be fearful, but you can't allow that fear to stop you. You have to move forward on the purpose, okay? I had some other points prepared, but let me stay right here on focus because I really feel like there are some things that God wants to get out of this. So as you become laser focused on your purpose, what you'll find is the opportunities that are around you will begin to make themselves available to you. The language that you speak will be picked up in the ears of other people. There are opportunities that I have now that I didn't have access to before because I wasn't speaking the right language. I was in a room full of people, but because my conversation was different, I did not receive the help that I needed concerning my purpose because I wasn't talking the purpose up, or I wasn't talking about the purpose. So now let me bring this to light. Now when I'm in a circle of people, or I have the opportunity to talk about what I do and talk about, hey, I want to educate people, the people that don't have anything, the people that are less fortunate, the people that are skilled and talented, that have these skills and talents, but they really need the financial backing and they need the financial support to propel them forward. Really want to talk to these people and educate them. Now I have these opportunities. Oh, well, hey, I have a group of people that I would like you to come and speak to. But if I never talked about that, that opportunity would not have unveiled itself. And so when you're not focused on your purpose, you miss out on those opportunities to use your gift. But when you start to focus in on your purpose and you start to get laser focused on what it is that you've been called to do, now everything about you just begins to radiate that. There's this glow about you when you start to talk about that thing that you're passionate about, and the opportunities start to unveil, the roadways start to open up. And see, a lot of us, we want to move too quickly from where we are before before having that preparation. So although you may not specifically enjoy where you are right now, you have to be building that bridge so that you have something to step out on when it's time for you to move forward in your purpose. See, when I was doing sales, even though I was in finance, sales wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I still was doing that part. I was still doing the sales, but I was also building the opportunity to go out into the community and speak at the Boys and Girls Club, to speak at the churches, to speak at different high schools, different elementary schools, to speak at different private parties, to speak with different employers about the opportunity to share concerning finance. And so I want to ask you this question. What is it that you need to be focusing on? What is it that has been given to you specifically that you can maximize? Okay? And I want to leave you guys with this one other thing, okay? Once you have become laser focused in terms of maximizing your potential, now you have to organize your relationships. You have to organize your friend groups. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, or prioritizing your relationships, or finding out those people that need to be in your immediate circle. It's not saying that you're abandoning people or kicking people out of your life, but you only have a certain amount of time in the day. You only have a certain amount of time before you need to rest. You only have a certain amount of time in life, and none of us have a map that tells us when we are going to leave the world. And so, which means that we have to work and use our time as best as possible. Okay. And unless your purpose is to build the next social media app, the next trend, then you don't have as much time as everyone else to foster all relationships. You imagine if you go down your friends list on Facebook, and some of you may have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 friends. Imagine you trying to foster a relationship with 1,500 of those friends. You can't do it. If you're trying to foster a relationship with all 1,500 of those people on your friends list, then you don't have time to do what you've been placed on the earth to do. And so you have to find a way to organize or prioritize your friendships in a way that allows you to still complete or to move forward in your purpose, and trust that there's still going to be opportunities to build a relationship with those people. It may not be on the same level, or it may not be at the same frequency, but you still at some level will have interaction with that person. And so here's how I divide my relationships up. And this is not something that I came up with. It's actually something that I heard years ago from Ty Lopez, and that I've heard later from people like Tony Robbins. If you don't know some of these people, these are world-renowned speakers. These are people that are also millionaires, some of them billionaires around the world. And this is how they organize their time. So 1/3 of your time is to be spent with people who can mentor you. Okay? So the mentors that I have in my life are older men. Um, these are guys that I can talk to about history. Some of them I can talk to about history in Columbus. Some of them I can talk about history in the world. You know, some of them I can talk about civil rights. I can talk about just different things that have happened in my past that I can read about, but I wasn't here to learn about those different things. These are people that can help guide me through different areas maybe that I'm unfamiliar with, so that I don't find myself in some of the pitfalls that they found themselves in. And so here's what mentors do for you. And I've said this before. You know, let's say this is the timeline, okay? Mentors are able to shorten that timeline for you. So if this is something that was going to take 10 years for me to do, a mentor can give me the information of something that would have taken me 10 years to do and really bring it down to 6 months. They could bring it down to a year. It really all depends on how much you're really able to invest, or how much you're willing to invest in the information that mentor is sharing with you. Okay, so a mentor shortens that time gap, because as we go forward in life, we're supposed to move. We're supposed to be better, stronger, do things faster, do things wiser than the generation before us. And then a third of my time is spent with people that are going where I'm going. Okay, so you got to spend time with people that think like you think, even if they're not in the same industry. You know, I am moving forward with people, and these are not necessarily people that are at the same age. Some of the people are maybe a little older, but in terms of our purpose, we're about the same. We're moving at the same pace. These are people that I can check in with. We can encourage one another. Sometimes we can, you know, let down our guard a little bit and talk about the problems and the issues and the struggles that we have. But truly, what we're talking about when we're talking about those struggles is from a positive standpoint. Man, how do we move forward? How do I overcome this? How did you overcome that obstacle? You know, what are you doing to move forward? Hey, man, tell me about what's going on in your life. Tell me about the successes that you're having. And you're going back and forth, celebrating one another. And so it's really good to build friendships with these people, because as you're building friendship, then you're able to encourage one another. You're able to sharpen one another. You're able to trade off on things, because maybe that person's reading up on things, brushing up on things, and you're brushing up on different things. And so when you meet up and you talk, you're able to have this brain swap in terms of information and make each other stronger, make each other better. And then the third of your time is spent giving back to people that you yourself are able to pull up. And that's so great, because it gives you an opportunity to practice what you've learned in the other 2/3 of your relationship. It gives you an opportunity to give back. It gives you an opportunity to add value to someone else. And this is truly where you find your purpose, is in that give back. What are you doing to pull other people up? What are you doing to push other people forward into their purpose? And so let me talk about what happens when you have an overload in these three segments of life, okay? So if you find yourself in, and I'll deal with the bottom third first. If you find yourself imbalance in pulling people up, or trying to push people into their purpose, or trying to serve people, if you have that imbalance of serving, then what you find is you've abused yourself, or you've abused a relationship. A lot of people are guilty of this, and maybe they become workaholics. Maybe in terms of pastoring, maybe you're guilty of neglecting your family. And so there's an opportunity for neglect when you're constantly serving. And then there's also the opportunity for you to drain yourself, right? Because you're always pouring out into people. And if you're never being filled, and you're always pouring out, you're always about the work and about the service, then you don't truly serve the people the way they need to be served. You're serving them, but you're serving them with a dull axe. You're serving them with an axe that's not sharpened, okay? Now let's go to the second third, which is in the middle. When it comes to people that you are working with, if you are always trying to deal with people that are on your same level, then what you do is you find that you're constantly working or edifying people that truly don't need your help, right? So if I'm on the same level and we're both trying to move forward, then pretty much what we're doing is we're staying on the same level. You know, how can I pull you up to a level 3 if I'm on a level 2? You know, pretty much what we're able to do is kind of drive on the same level. And so if we're not receiving new information, then we're not able to grow. And if we're not pulling people up, then truly what we just have is a friendship. And a friendship is good. There's nothing wrong with the friendship. But in terms of being purposeful, then you don't truly have that much to talk about in terms of things that you're doing. And so the danger of the imbalance of that second level is becoming stagnant and staying on the same level, not refreshing yourself, not moving forward. All right, and so the dangerous effect of the third level, or the imbalance of always spending time with mentors, is inactivity. So if you're always spending time learning from people, let's kind of paint the picture. Let's say if I'm going to spend time with a lot of the great gurus, hey man, tell me about the civil rights movement, and tell me about what you were able to do, and tell me about what you were able to accomplish. I have a lot of head knowledge, but I'm not putting a lot of things into action. It's great that I'm learning these things, but what am I doing with that information? It's great that I'm learning about, let's say even if I'm spending time with a guru, a financial guru, who's telling me about all these tricks and flips in the industry, ways to save money, ways to save money in taxes, ways to benefit yourself in the investment world, ways to do things in real estate, all of these different things, but I'm not putting that into action, then I'm really just getting fat on knowledge. And so I'm not doing anything with that. So really, that's why your time needs to be divided in all three areas. You need to find time to spend with that mentor who can pull you up to the next level. You need to be able to pull people up with that knowledge, go and do things, but you also need to be able to talk about things that you're doing with people that are on your level, because what you'll find with your mentor is that if you pull too hard on the mentor, you're always milking them, then you're not going to get the best out of that relationship. And so I try not to tire my mentors out, but I use them when I really need to use them, and I also bring them something back when I'm talking with my mentors as well. Okay, so hey guys, if you didn't catch the beginning, remember Labor Day is celebrating the upward mobility of us in America as people, but also celebrating the value that we have as people, celebrating as family. So if you have to work, I understand, but if you can get away from work and enjoy your family, please do so. If you have time tonight, and of course, I'm not a big self-promoter, but at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be on a live segment, sharing the stage with my brother, Bruce Waller Jr., and what's called the Primal Man. And so what he does is he has different men to come and speak about things that they're doing in their community, different things that they're doing in life. And so I would say, not if you have time to support me, but if you have time to enrich yourself, we're going to be talking about the man and his mind. So we're going to be talking about different things that are going on. So that'll be tonight at 8 o'clock. You should see the live feed share from my page. But if you want to be there, that's going to be 8 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. So hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And if not, tonight, I'll see you guys next Monday. Take care.